Welcome to the Church Universal series, where we seek to tell the often untold story of the many groups, outreaches, and apostolates in the Catholic Church, which are making a positive difference in the world through their charitable works and prayerful lives. Hello, I'm Father Joseph Mary, and today I'm speaking once again with members from Couples for Christ, which is a worldwide movement for the renewal and strengthening of Christian family life, now in over 100 countries in the world. My guests today are Eric Villanueva, National Director of Couples for Christ, and Ann Kopp, answering the cry of the poor in the United States, and his wife Pat, as well as Deacon John and Veronica Coe, who recently served as Couples for Christ leaders in Cairo, Egypt. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for coming from such a distance to be here to tell us the story of Couples for Christ. Deacon John and Veronica, tell us about what it was like. We know of the turmoil that we hear in Egypt, the difficulty for Christians there. What was it like in your recent time there in Cairo, Egypt?
It was definitely a challenging time for all the Christians in Egypt, and not a time of a lot of hope. Mm-hmm. The Muslim Brotherhood had just taken over the government when we got there, and the constitution that was imposed really restricted Christian life. People couldn't build new churches. Worship in homes was really not allowed. It became more and more difficult for people to practice their faith openly. And as we came towards the end of our year, when the military forced that government out, there was then a lot of reprisal by the Muslim Brotherhood against Christians, burning down churches. Over 80 churches burned down right when we left, and attacks on Christian businesses, on Christian men and women. So it was a very tough time. Those who could leave were leaving, but those who were there really had to have some courage to continue to practice their faith.
And so you were helping to continue that Christian presence and to have a support community there, to encourage them to help one another. How did you live that out?
Well, I was assigned as a missionary to the Apostolic Vicariate of Alexandria of Egypt, which is the Roman Catholic diocese for all of Egypt. Mm-hmm. And they needed someone who spoke English, interestingly, to help with the Filipino community. Oh. Because the priests at the Franciscan monastery that ministered to them, really, their language was Arabic, and their English was very limited. So they needed someone who could preach in English and who could minister in English. And little did I know, but this Couples for Christ program was wanting to get started. Mm-hmm. And they asked me one day if I could teach one of their first presentations, of their Christian life program presentations. And I didn't really know what the program was, but they asked me to talk for an hour about who Jesus is, mm-hmm. which I was very happy to do.
Basics, the essentials.
And with that, that was the hook. They kind of got me involved with the program. Veronica joined me as I would go and work with them. And it reached out to people who didn't have a lot of messages of hope. Mm-hmm. It gave them a safe place to come. We did gather in homes to pray, but it's a very charismatic movement. They sing a lot. But they sang quietly. They played the guitars quietly.
So you had to still be careful.
That's right.
Gatherings.
And it wasn't just the Filipinos who came. Certainly there were a lot of Filipino workers there, women who had to leave their families behind and work as maids to support their families back in the Philippines, predominantly. But it also attracted men, sub-Saharan African men who were living in Egypt, some studying, others trying to make a living any way they can, mm-hmm. living a very hard, poor life. Yes. And they were invited, and they found this energizing. Mm-hmm. And then that started attracting Europeans, Americans, and ultimately even Copts, who are the majority Christians in Egypt, got interested in the program. So it developed a very broad reach because it gave this hopeful message, and an energetic message.
Right. So it's something that grew and attracted other members and, like you said, gave a vitality and hope to the community.
Those strange ways that the Holy Spirit finds to work in the most difficult circumstances.
Veronica, tell us about your experience there in Egypt.
Yes, well, I had a great experience because the church was very close to our home, about 3 blocks, and getting involved with this community especially the Filipino community was amazing, and the love that it goes there. And I always say the Holy Spirit works amazingly for me, and to be able to be a, what they call it, a missionary
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of chaos.
Yes.
And but like the Pope said many times, we are all called to mission. All baptized are called to mission,
Mm-hmm.
disciples. And as a lay community, we need to do more. And that's the way they are, what's going on there right now,
Mm-hmm.
how they're reaching also at this time the youth. Because when we were there, we were just mainly adults, but now there's youth there, and Couples for Christ is sending teams to reach to them and to mainly reinforce the family, the singles, and also vocation, which is very important.
I guess you would really have a sense there of the cost of following Christ that people
Yes.
endure in so many parts of the world.
Yes, a lot of people there are afraid to, what they say, carry the cross or wear the cross,
Right.
but there is a way, and if we trust in God, we can still be evangelizers. Even if it's not door to door, but with the same people there at the church, with all the communities. So I'm very grateful to be part of Couple of Christ.
It's a beautiful
Yes.
story. Now, Eric and Pat, you live here in the United States. And Eric, you're the National Director for Couples for Christ, as well as involved with EWTNCouplesforChrist. You're the director of that as well, working with the poor. Give us, for those who didn't see the previous programs, just a little overview of Couples for Christ.
Father, in the year 2000, the Holy See issued a decree recognizing the community as an international association of the lay faithful. And this movement actually is moved by the Holy Spirit, and we're one with the Catholic Church, and we're blessed to witness Christ's love and service. Couples for Christ is a united global family of evangelizers that sets the world on fire with the fullness of
Yes.
God's transforming love. And for those who viewers who watch the previous episodes, we're a family renewal ministry.
Yes.
Probably some of them heard about the womb to tomb.
Right.
There's also a conception to resurrection version of that, because we have Kids for Christ, we have CFC Youth for Christ, Singles for Christ, Couples for Christ, Handmaids of the Lord and Servants of the Lord.
And so it's really something, as we mentioned in the previous episode, from the beginning, I like that, conception to resurrection, that it covers every area of life. Now, today's program, we're emphasizing especially the missionary outreach of Couples for Christ. Tell us a little bit about that.
Now, Father, in couples, in the community, we believe that, as Veronica mentioned earlier, we believe that each one of us are called to mission. I might have a regular 8 to 5 job, but that doesn't excuse me from going out on mission. Actually, 2 years ago, I went to Sierra Leone for 2 weeks. I lost 15 pounds, so one good way of losing weight. But there were, it's just hard to imagine when we know that a lot of stories are written about the end of the world, movies, about the second coming, when there's so many who hasn't heard of the first coming. Because I remember when I was giving talk number 2 of the Christian Life program, Who is Jesus Christ, there were 140 participants. I didn't realize that in Sierra Leone, only 35% are Christian. So the participants there, they're not all Catholics, they're not all Christian. So after the session, one of them approached me and asked me, Eric, after learning about that guy, Jesus Christ, I want to become a Catholic. And it gave me goosebumps.
Yes.
The immediate impact of what all of us are trying to do. And it's just, so we encourage everyone to go on mission. And we're just so happy to see the different experiences and share those different experiences of going out on mission.
So the harvest is rich, and so often when we hear that gospel, we think of praying for priestly vocations, religious vocations, which is important and necessary. But I think we need to look at that from a wider perspective, that the laity too are called to help in the harvest. Yeah, so could you comment on that?
Actually, we're just so blessed to for the Lord allowing us to see miracles unfold before our very eyes, because it started with one of our members of CFC Youth, Francis Mendoza. He grew up here in Los Angeles, and now he's serving as a priest. And he's not the only one. So many members of Singles for Christ are entering religious life. And so we're so blessed, and we continue to encourage for the younger people to really pray for their vocation. It could be a married vocation, they might be called for marriage, but try to consider maybe they're also being called to something else.
Now, Pat, tell us about your own experience as far as the missionary outreach with Couples for Christ, and how you, especially here in the United States now, you're living in the United States, what are ways that you're helping to bring the gospel to others?
Here in the U.S., we're present in 40 states already, so we have quite a way to go. There are 10 more states.
10 more states, 40 conquered already. Wow.
Right, and so my experience is to help also. Along with my husband, we go to different states and open Christian life programs in different states. But also we have missions in Puerto Rico, in Caribbean countries, in some of the in Central America. So that's what we go out and basically share the love of God to people. And once they learn more about God, their lives are transformed. We hope that someday, if they don't have yet a relationship with the Lord, that they'll start to have that personal relationship with the Lord, or even make it deeper. And then